Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo RANT. Okay, so let's get into these questions. We've got plenty for you to go at today. In fact, there's not that many, so it should be a reasonably snappy episode. We'll get to them in just a minute, but before we do, don't forget, first, the YouTube magic, all right? We need to get those YouTube ninjas on board. The robot ninjas are going to go out and get us more people to do Kendo, okay? All you have to do is like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell notification, and very, very, very importantly, you have to leave a comment down below using the word Kendo, okay? Something like, wow, this is the best Kendo channel I've ever seen. Wow, what a brilliant Kendo video. This is the best Kendo channel on the internet. Something like that. You say something like that, and then basically the YouTube ninjas, they go out, they find people who are about to start Kendo, and they get them to start Kendo, right? If you don't write the comment using the word Kendo, they might get them to start something else, all right? That's the last thing we want. We don't want loads of people starting up some other, you know, something like, I don't know, like snooker or cop bowls or curling, you know, nothing against those sports, right? But we know we want them to be doing Kendo, right? So make sure you use the word Kendo in your comment down below. But there's one more thing that's even more important than that. Other than this microphone that's tickling my throat here. If you like the channel, if you like the videos that I do, I've got these question and answer videos in the form of Kendo RANT. We've got feedback videos, we've got analysis videos, and we've got instructional content, more of that on the way very, very, very soon. I say that a lot, but it's a lot of work to put them together, and I do have some in the pipeline, all right? So do bear with me, there's more instructional stuff coming very, very soon, and it's all free of charge. There's no hidden costs, there's no subscriptions, there's no charging you for subtitles, nothing like that. All you have to do, and here's the best bit, it's a win-win situation, is shop at KendoStar.com. Now, KendoStar is the best Kendo equipment website in the history and future of the galaxy, universe, multiverse, human race, everything. It's the best ever. Now, of course, I would say that because I own the place, but everyone agrees with me, all right? We're the highest rated, we're an established brand of Kendo equipment specifically for the international community, all right? We have been doing this for quite a while now, all right? We're established at what we do. We're not just middlemen drop shipping for you or working out of our bedrooms or anything like that, okay? We're the real deal. You get the best equipment, you get the best service. Don't buy twice. Shop at KendoStar the first time round, okay? That's KendoStar.com. Right, let's get to these questions. Let's have a look. Okay, I've got a bit of a goofy question about lining up men in seiza. You know how they're supposed to be in a nice straight line? Well, what happens when one man goes rogue and decides to be a little forward or backwards? Does the next person in line follow the rebel, or do they stick to the original lineup? Just trying to make sure we're not accidentally starting a conga line in the dojo. That's a really good question. I don't think it's a goofy question at all. I think it's a perfectly valid and good question. I mean, I would say, I think the best thing to do is if you find yourself in that situation, you're lining your stuff up and the person next to you is like clearly got theirs too far forward or too far back. I would put mine like in line with the overall line rather than match the person who's obviously in the wrong position. All right. That's what I would do. All right. Just look to your side, see what the overall line, where the overall line should be, and put your men there. I think that's the best way to go about that, to be honest, in my opinion. All right, that's what I would say. Next one, just want to say thank you for the great advices. Looking forward to do some celebratory purchases, hopefully in the near future. All right, okay, that's just a comment rather than a question, but thank you very much. No problem. We've got some great deals right now. All the time we've got great deals, but we've got some particularly good ones right now, so check those out. Next one, I'd be curious to know if you're willing to share how you feel Kendo can help with things that can negatively impact one's life, such as anxiety, sadness, and all the rest of human emotions that tend to hinder us. If you've had experiences or witnessed anyone combat these things through the discipline of Kendo, I'd love to hear. I think that's a really fantastic question. And yeah, of course, it's something I have personal experience of. I think we all do. I think Kendo definitely can help with that. But I think it's a bit of a two-way street. You know, I often find that when I'm having a difficult time of things, you know, if I'm experiencing these sort of negative emotions, which I do, obviously, from time to time, then I feel it sometimes negatively affects my Kendo practice as well. Like I often struggle to concentrate or move in the way that I want to, or, you know, do the Kendo I want to do. But I think going to practice still and doing it helps me kind of fight against it, if you know what I mean. So I do think it's really good. I know someone else as well that, you know, I know of that they play Kendo at a very, very serious, very high level in Japan, and they've recently had a sort of setback dealing with that sort of negative emotions and stuff like that, and maybe after the result of a particularly prestigious tournament, and they took a step away actually, and they just started to come back after about a month or so off. Now I'm not spoken to that person, so I don't really know how they're feeling about it, but I know it happens to all of us, even those at the very high levels. That's what I'm saying. But I definitely think that Kendo does help with it, and I feel, for me at least, that, you know, I'd like to say it lets me take my mind off it, which it does, because while I'm doing it, I'm not thinking about the sort of negative stuff going on, but it's still I still feel distracted at times. But I feel like Kendo gives me a chance to sort of fight against that in a sort of its own sort of way. So I definitely think it helps. And, you know, you can come away after feeling, sometimes you come away and feel like, oh, that wasn't how I wanted it to go. But sometimes, you know, when you're in that sort of mindset, you can go to practice and come back and feel, oh, you know, I'm really glad I went. And it gives you a little bit of positive, you know, or you'll see other people that care about you and like you. And they, you know, even if you don't talk to them about the difficulties you're experiencing, you know, interacting with those people can have a positive effect on your sort of frame of mind as well, I think. So I definitely think that it's a good and important thing to deal with, sort of those sort of negative experiences that we all have to deal with from time to time. Next one, Sensei, question from a history note. Oh, here we go. During the Heian period, there were two great Bushi clans, the Heike and the Genji, also known as the Taira and the Minamoto. Their many clashes culminated in the epic Genpei War. The Heike banner is red and the Genji banner is white. Is this why our Taski are red and white? I don't know. I didn't know that. I don't know very much at all about Heian period Japan. Or if, you know, but if that's the case, you know, I think the reason that I mean, I don't know where it's written officially, but I believe that essentially in Japanese culture, the colors of red and white are very culturally significant. Okay. And the Japanese flag, of course, is made of those two colors. And it is a very sort of those two colors in particular are particularly Japanese in sort of in a culturally significant way, and that could stem from this story of the Genpei War. I don't know, or it could be from before that. I don't know, to be honest. But what I do know is that there's lots of aspects outside of Kendo. Now in Kendo we use red and white for the taski, or I think we're supposed to call it meijirishi, but I still call it taski. But the ribbons on the back of the competitors, the flags, of course, that the shimpan hold. So one side or one team is the white team, and one is the red team. And this idea of splitting two sort of groups into teams is also a very sort of Japanese thing, where they separate one into a sort of red team and one into the white team. There's a popular television show at the end of the year called the Kohaku, which is red versus white, and they have these two I don't know that much about it. I've only seen it a couple of times, but they get famous performers and separate them into sort of two teams, and they have this sort of, it's not really a sing off, but they all perform, and there's a white side and a red side sort of thing. I think that's how it works anyway. But it's kind of featured in Japanese culture a lot, the sort of idea of a red side and a white side, or red and white being a Japanese culturally significant color scheme. And I think, as I say, I can't say for certain if it stems from this particular historical event, or if it just comes from the fact that that's the colors of the Japanese flag or whatever. I don't know, but it's certainly interesting. I'd be surprised if they, I don't believe that the Taski colours were decided because of the Genpei War in a direct sense. Now, if it's the case that the relationship of the sort of red versus white, or the red and white thing, comes from that, and that's why it's a sort of prominent part of Japanese culture, then it's sort of an indirect way of being the cause. But I believe that the Taski of red and white, because generally in Japanese culture, it's red versus white in lots of circumstances. It's a very Japanese way of doing things. Okay, next one. Hello, Sensei. Currently 4th dan, and I've been trying to understand the concept of Aiki. Good. I was recently at a seminar and we did kata critiques. It was said I was lacking Aiki with my kata partner. To my limited understanding, Aiki is the mutual exchange or blending of the two partners' presence and or energies. I want to get a grasp on this concept to hopefully better understand semi and applying it in practice. Apologies if the verbiage is too fluffy. Thank you for all you do. No, I understand exactly what you mean. Aiki is critically important, especially once you hit 4th dan and you want to start going up further. And it's one of the main things that we develop in Kendo through the practice of kata, in my opinion. It's much more important than the physical movements of the kata is the Aiki that you're able to achieve with your partner. Now, the kind of, I don't think you're far off with this idea of mutual exchange or blending. The way I like to think of it is Aiki is like it's the partnership between the two of you and your partner, and that you're both reading from the same page, you're both singing from the same hymn sheet, you're both acting in unison, in a way that's like, if you imagine two ballroom dancers, there's of course, I don't know very much about ballroom dancing, of course not, but I understand that those two people have to be in complete synchronization with each other, and they have to some extent read each other's intentions. I expect, and I understand that. I don't know anything about ballroom dancing, but I've sort of seen a few TV shows that they have here in the UK that's slightly popular. Usually ones that involve celebrities. I don't watch them, but I've seen them before. And I know that there's a set of rehearsed movements, but the kata is a set of rehearsed movements, right? So if you imagine that like a rehearsed series of movements, you'd still have to work in sort of symphony with your. I guess symphony is an interesting word as well, because I think it applies probably musically as well. Now, music is an absolute huge weak area for me, right? I'm not musical in any way whatsoever. But I do realize that an orchestra has to work in harmony with each other, right? It's that sort of harmony, and probably not just an orchestra. I expect a band as well would have to do that, or these dancers, or all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things in these areas where you have to. I think we have a little bit of a tendency to over mystify it in Kendo and expect it to be some kind of like a magical connection, but it's not really magical. It's just like, I think synchronization is the wrong word as well. I think what we have a tendency to do in society, now I'm going to get a little bit deep here. I'll try my best not to go too off the beaten track, but I think what people tend to do in society often is focus on the self, focus on themselves individually. And one of the things that Kendo teaches us, and it's through practicing Kendo and developing Aiki, that we can understand this about ourselves so that we can become better members of society, which is what Kendo's for, is that what you have to do is you have to care about other people. Okay, so in Kendo, when you do the kata, you don't, okay, I have to go to left Jordan. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's not just that, right? You have to have this kind of harmony with the partner. So, for example, the uchitachi has to lead, yeah. But then the brilliant people doing kata, if you have a fantastic pair of senseis doing kata who have got excellent Aiki, you can't tell that the uchitachi is necessarily moving first, especially when they start to move, because they have this sort of harmony, and they can see within each other when they should move together. It's a really difficult concept, but I think it's really important because I think it is part of the overall aspect of what Kendo is about. And that's why I mentioned about it helping us become better people in society, because it means, like, even in just your everyday life, you don't just act caring about yourself, but, like when you have, like, you have, if we take it down to a really basic level, like, when sometimes you have like a meeting with somebody or something like that, and maybe you'll shake hands or something like that, and there's sometimes it's the awkward ones, and sometimes it's the really smooth ones. Like the really smooth ones is when you both know and recognize now's the time for us to reach to shake hands, and you both reach out together and you shake hands brilliantly, right? And there's no sort of like awkwardness, all right? That's a miss in Aiki, right? Same with like a high five or something like that, right? So it's not like you're trying to do some sort of Jedi magical stuff, but you are trying to get a sort of feeling of harmony with your partner, all right? And you have to, it's a kind of atmosphere that you're both participating in. Do you understand? I keep using this word harmony, but I think that's the best word for it. So that, you move in unison. It's not you're doing Shitachi and they're doing Shitachi, or you're doing Shitachi and they're doing Shitachi. It's that you're both doing the kata together. And it's one sort of movement. Does that make sense? It's not easy, but with practice, I think it comes. And it's very difficult because it requires a buy-in from both sides. Both of you have to understand that and have to aim for that. And if there's a mismatch, it kind of goes weird. And this is why it happens in Shinai Kendo too, especially once you start going up the further ranks, right? When you start challenging the higher downgrades, I think this Aiki becomes of paramount importance, because there has to be this connection between the two of you so that a waza can be created, rather than who can just hit when they feel like hitting. But if one side's not participating in that, then it becomes very difficult and very awkward. So yeah, it's a difficult concept. I'm sure you'll get it though. I hope it makes sense. And I'll kind of waffled on that a bit. Hi Fish Sensei, I recently moved to Fukuoka. Great. I'm participating in Keiko and I'm enjoying it so much. Good. In 2 weeks, I've registered for my first Q Shinsa. In the requirements, it says to do 1 to 9 Kihon Kata, but in Germany, you do 1 to 3 Nihon Kendo Kata. Why is that the case? Also, what should I expect to pay in yen for a bamboo doll with urushi lacquer in Japan? I'd like to buy one, but I don't know the difference that well. between a 1 million yen and 25,000 yen door, which I've seen. I love the videos. I'm using the Myrmidon Bogu for practice here, and it gives me confidence wearing such a nice Bogu. Good. Okay, so first off, about great that you moved to Fukuoka. Beautiful city, love it. Second home for me, absolutely. Lived there myself. My wife's from there, and absolutely love the place. Love the place. Spend a lot of time there as much as I can. In terms of the Shinsa, okay, so the Japanese national standard is that it should be for first queue, you should do 1 to 9 of the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon Waza Keiko, Kendo Keiko, something like that, whatever it's called. And then from Shodan you do the Nihon Kendo Kata. Now, the Kihon Kata, the Kihon, the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon Waza Kendo, whatever it's called, Kendo thing, Keiko, keep forgetting its proper title. But that thing, the Kihon, it's relatively new. Now, when I say relatively new, I mean it's like 20 years old, right? So before that, you did the Nihon Kendo Kata for Ikkyu as well, 1 to 3, right? Now here in the UK, currently, I believe that they do the same as what you said in Germany, and that for Ikkyu they do the Nihon Kendo Kata 1 to 3. I think for Shodan they do 1 to 5. But in Japan it's the Kihon for Ikkyu, and then Shodan is 1 to 3, Nidan is 1 to 5, Sandan is 1 to 7 with the tachi, and then from Yondan and above it's 1 to 7 with the tachi and 1 to 3 with the kotachi. And the reason it's like that is because each country is free to set its own sort of, regulations on that. Okay, so the German Federation, British Federation, they're free to decide which kata that you have to do for the grading. There's guidelines from Japan, but whether they decide to follow it or not is up to them. So yeah, that's that. In terms of what you should expect to pay for in yen for a bamboo door with urushi lacquer. Well, first off, I'd recommend that if you really want to buy one, that you got in touch with us, because we can still help you even if you're in Japan. We have lots of customers in Japan, and we can organize something for you in Japan and have it delivered in Japan for you. And I think you would probably, now it depends, I'm guessing you'd be looking at anywhere between 15 man and 20 man, or maybe 25 man for a bamboo door. Maybe you could get one for around 10 man, maybe anything between 100,000 and 25,000. If you want a nice urushi one though, I think you're probably looking, once it's all put together and everything, I think you're probably looking at least 100,000, probably more, probably something from 100, 150. Or if you get something that's like from a particularly nice like finish, then it could be more like 250. These ones that are like 1 million, they're more likely something like a shot, like a ray skin or same or something like that. Something that's 25,000, that's a plastic door. That's not, you can't get a bamboo door for that. No way, right? So yeah, that's my sort of estimate. I think I'd have to look into it though, of course, because my base currency at the moment is not Japanese yen, so but I'm guessing you're probably looking around that sort of price. Okay, I'm glad you like the Myrmidon Bogu. Okay, last one. And of course it depends on the type of mune that you have as well. The chest part depends on what kind of, you can spend like a lot more than that just on a mune if you go nuts. So hello Kendo ninjas, there we go, good. I have a potentially strange question. Recently I was told by one of my instructors that I have a tendency to use my left leg incorrectly, as instead of having my toes pointing forward and using my foot to move forward, I tend to have my foot placed diagonally and use it in this way. Obviously when I do suburi or we practice basics, my stance is more or less correct, But when it comes to shiai or tachiai or jigeko, I tend to use my left foot incorrectly. Do you have any drills that help fix that? Slow stability or specific stretches or strengthening techniques? Any insight would be massively appreciated. Thank you for all you do. Okay, so this is one of these questions we get from time to time. I'm sorry, there isn't a really quick fix to this. What you have to do, you can fix it. Stability, if you practice stability every day at home and really focus on, I think what this comes from, and it's a problem I had for a long time actually, and it took me quite a long time to sort it out, and I still struggle with it, I'm not going to lie. But if you do stability every day, but don't just think about swinging the shinai, think about the position of your left foot, okay? Are your toes pointing in the right way, and is your left foot coming up quickly? And then after you've done that, is your left foot still straight? Because what happens is we tend to want to stand like this, okay? So I want to get those feet nice and straight, okay? And if I'm honest with you, I've got to say there's no quick fix, there's no shortcut to this. You just have to really, really concentrate on it every time you practice, all right? And if you do some stability every day, like 100 stability or something every day, with that in mind, it doesn't. I'll tell you what, you don't even have to practice stability. Just do kamae and do asabaki forward and back, and just check that your left foot is straight. Okay, that's the beginning part of it, all right? But you just have to really concentrate on it. And think about as well, the other thing I would think about, I think it's something that people sometimes miss on this. I wouldn't just think about turning the toes forward. That's one thing, right? That's one thing. You can see my blisters because I did loads of Kendo yesterday. One thing is turning the toes. But second, think about your left hip bone. Make sure your left hip bone is turned towards the person in front of you and not out to the side like that. So if your left foot's like that, your hips are open. Turn your left hip bone towards them, all right? So your left hip bone. So think about the position of your hips as well so that they're square and not sideways, okay? And there we go. We're at the end. Thank you very much for joining me today, everyone. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I last did a show. I didn't manage to do one last week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, shop at KendoStar, write the comments for the YouTube ninjas, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.